Every gilded cage is built with walls of comfort. The only question is what you're paying for them.
So picture this. It's 1968. The Cold War is in full swing, and a new kind of environmental awareness is just starting to bubble up. And then this book just drops. And I mean, it lands like an absolute bombshell. It wasn't just another book on the shelf. It was a global alarm bell, basically telling humanity we were in a desperate race against time. So today, we're going to unpack the book that absolutely terrified a generation, The Population Bomb. And just look at this cover. It doesn't pull any punches, does it? Right there on the front, it hits you with, while you are reading these words, 3 children are dying of starvation and 24 more babies are being born. I mean, from the very first moment you see it, the tone is set. It is urgent, it's shocking, and it is brutally direct. So if you thought the cover was a lot, believe me, the book itself doesn't let up. The opening lines offer zero comfort. Instead, they just drop this stark, terrifying verdict on the future of our entire world. And you gotta understand, Ehrlich wasn't saying this might happen. No. He was presenting it as a cold, hard fact, an absolute mathematical certainty. He was arguing that this catastrophe was already in motion, that the train had already left the station, and there was no stopping it. And that gets us to the absolute core of the book's argument. The choice he lays out is, well, it's brutally simple. Option 1, humanity gets its act together and consciously lowers the birth rate. That's the birth rate solution. Or option 2, we do nothing, and nature, or human nature, does it for us by raising the death rate through war, famine, and pestilence. Now, to back up a claim this huge, this apocalyptic, you need some evidence, right? And Ehrlich didn't just rely on scary language. He actually broke the whole crisis down into a series of interconnected problems facing what he famously called Spaceship Earth. And this is where he makes it personal. He takes this abstract idea of overpopulation and makes you feel it. This quote comes from his own experience, standing on a hot, crowded street in Delhi, India. He uses that visceral, overwhelming, almost suffocating feeling to say, look, this isn't just a number, it's a reality. So what was the engine driving this whole crisis? Well, it all came down to a mathematical concept called doubling time. And this is key. It's not simple addition, it's exponential growth. It compounds on itself, kind of like a credit card debt that's totally spiraling out of control. And just check out these numbers. You can see how that doubling time was shrinking, just getting faster and faster. For most of human history, it took a whole millennium for our population to double. By 1850, it was 200 years. By 1930, just 80. And by 1968, when he wrote the book, it was down to just 35 years. The curve was basically going straight up. Okay, so you have this exponential growth. What's the fallout? What actually happens? The book really zeroes in on 2 major consequences. First, too little food, a point where, as he put it, the stork passed the plow. We were making babies faster than we could make food. And second, a dying planet. The environment itself was just buckling under the strain. And the numbers he put out there, they are just staggering. The book projected that somewhere between 10 and 20 million people, mostly children, would starve to death, not over the course of the decade, but each and every year throughout the 1970s. But this wasn't just about people going hungry. That was only part of the picture. Ehrlich laid out a whole list of symptoms of a planet in crisis. Our soil getting worse, our water and air getting poisoned by pesticides like DDT, early warnings about climate change, and just running out of stuff. The entire life support system of Spaceship Earth, he argued, was on the brink of failure. And this quote right here, it really just ties it all together. For Ehrlich, the line was direct. It wasn't complicated. Every single one of these environmental problems, from the smog in our cities to the chemicals in our rivers, could be traced back to one root cause. There were just too many people. Okay, so facts and figures are one thing, but to really make you feel the threat, the book does something else. It paints these super vivid, almost cinematic pictures of what that death rate solution we talked about might actually look like in the real world. Let's look at the first one. It's this chilling scenario of how a food shortage, something that starts with the environment, could just spiral out of control and end in, well, the unthinkable, a full-blown thermonuclear war. And you can see how the dominoes just fall, one after another, with terrifying speed. It starts with crop failures in the US, leading to food rationing. Then a desperate America uses a banned pesticide to save its own harvest. The rest of the world freaks out and hits the US with a total embargo. And finally, backed into a corner, the president launches a preemptive nuclear strike. It's a straight line from a bad harvest to the end of the world. All right, if that one didn't scare you, scenario 2 is just as nightmarish. But this time, it swaps nuclear weapons for biology. It imagines how a brand new deadly virus could use our crowded, interconnected world against us, turning our greatest strength, our global community, into our deadliest weakness. So in this story, a real virus, Lassa fever, supposedly escapes a lab in Atlanta. That's in November of '73. By January, just 2 months later, it's on every continent, a global pandemic. And by March, the death toll has hit 120 million people. It shows just how fast things could fall apart. And look at the fatality rates here. I mean, they are devastating across the board. 55% in North America, but in a place like India, which the book presents as overcrowded and malnourished, that rate jumps to a staggering 70%. It just hammers home the point that a crisis like this always hits the most vulnerable people the hardest. So after all of that, well, the dire warnings, the terrifying scenarios, the book ends with this really interesting moment of self-awareness. And this, I think, is where its real lasting power comes from. So, at the very end, he actually asks himself, hey, what if I'm wrong? He considers it. But the book's true impact, the reason we're still talking about it today, was never really about whether every prediction was 100% accurate. Its power came from forcing the entire world to ask a much scarier question. What if he's right? It was all about the mind-boggling risk of simply doing nothing. And that is the question that has echoed and sparked so much debate ever since.